So we're here with Twin Studios. We are now performing the group post-mortem review, looking back on the Synoptic project as a whole, and having one sort of final team meeting to discuss thoughts, feelings, and overall summarise the experience of Synoptic project. Isaac, over to you. If you could provide a synopsis of what your game was.
So our game idea was like to have a detective style puzzle-esque game where you'd go in and you'd have to solve this crime that's been happened. It was a murder. Lord of the Manor was murdered. So now you have to go in and you have to explore the manor, find out its secrets, and eventually you'll find evidence pieces around. You'll interview the suspects there, um, and eventually you'll come to a decision on which suspect it was that murdered the Lord of the Manor.
Cool. So before we even kicked off Synoptic Project, you guys were first faced with the role application stage. This sort of involved you guys needing to compete with one another and all your classmates to try and claim a role in advance of the Synoptic Project teams being formed. Can we just get a bit of input from everyone regarding the role you applied for compared to the role that you actually took on board once the project sort of went underway, and whether or not your feelings were positive or negative regarding that understanding of what your role was. Let's start with Connor first. What role did you apply for? Did that stay very one-dimensional? Were you happy? Were you a bit disappointed? Give me an overview.
So I applied for 3D modeling since I really like doing it, and I want to just keep working on it. And when I got the role, I was pretty happy because obviously it's what I wanted to do. And it just gives me opportunities to actually have a task for a model that I want to do, and I can just go down an asset list and do that. So it helped me improve my skills and further my skills on. And yeah, I'm pretty happy that I got it as well.
Did
So
throughout the project, so like from start to finish, did that role ever adapt at all? Did you shift into a different role, a secondary role maybe at all?
So in alpha and like gold standard, I also did a bit of art since I just wanted to help. I did some of the early concepts for the characters in alpha, and they were just like placeholders for the game. But in gold standard, I started doing the UI based stuff, which took up like the start of gold. But after that, I was pretty much just focused on 3D models and making the visuals of the game look
Nice.
better.
So still stuck within an art-based role for the most part. Did you see any value in sort of becoming more multidisciplinary and offering more services to the team?
I mean, having both of those roles, it made me constantly working, and I never really just sat there. I was always doing something and helping the game out.
hmm Alice, tell me about your role application experience.
I applied. Okay, I can hear myself. I applied to be to do concept art, and that is the role I got. It's uh, I was really happy with this.
Cool. Did you find that throughout the project your role changed at all, or maybe was your understanding of what it meant to be a concept artist evolved or changed? That perspective changed at all?
My perspective didn't change. I knew what I was doing, and I did do a bit of 3D work, just simple stuff.
And again, did you sort of see value in again changing what you provided for the team? Did you sort of have any significant impact in stepping out of your comfort zone and working under a different role?
Uh, Sorry, what?
Did you see any significant impact on the project by like changing and adapting your role over time?
Not really. All I really made were a couple of picture frames.
So you kept things simple.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that whilst you diversified your role a little bit, is there a reason why you kept to the simple things?
That's what I can do.
Cool. So you didn't want to sort of stretch yourself too thin and jump in too deep. Okay. Christian, give me your take on the role application experience. What did that look like for you?
So
Bear with me, guys. Just going to pause for 1 second. Yeah, just a little brief pause there. Christian, just coming back to you again. What was your role application experience like?
I chose level designer because I think I wanted to do programming, but like I ran out of ideas. Like I just didn't know what to do, so I chose level designer. Right. And that went. Mm, the final result didn't look that good, but I got the role.
I would argue otherwise. I think your game, out of all the Synoptic Project teams, has a pretty unique look to it.
I meant the role application, like what I did for it.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay. So moving forward with the project then, from the role application, when you applied for a level designer, did you get the role that you wanted for Synoptic Project? And did you stay and stick to that role, or did you diversify that role over time?
So yeah, I got level design, which was what I wanted for the products, and I was pretty happy. But I also did some other stuff. I programmed the footstep sounds.
Cool. And do you
What
see
did I do?
any? Sorry, did you see any value in stepping out of your initial role and taking up a secondary role? Did that provide any value to the team?
Yeah, I guess just made the game more better in a sort of way. Environmental sounds.
So by stepping into the SFX and maybe VFX role a little bit, it allowed you to maybe work on the immersion of the game a little bit more and make the player experience a bit more refined.
Yeah.
Cool. Who have I missed? Eleanor, tell me about your role experience.
So for the applying for roles, I applied for programmer, and the skill test was quite fun, and I'm happy with the work I produced, and I'm happy that I got my role. It the stuff I made in that was very different from what I can hear myself, and I hate myself.
If everyone just jumps on mute while someone else is speaking, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. But the stuff I ended up producing for that was very different from the stuff I ended up programming for the actual Synoptic project, where I did stuff with AIs for that, whereas for the Synoptic project it was mostly UI and widget stuff, which was very fun because I really like the problem-solving aspect of it. So I enjoyed figuring out how to get things to work with blueprints. Later on in the project, I started doing work on stuff like environment design by copying some of Chris's works into the mirror world to make the two match up. And I also did work on VFX systems as well, and those felt like just natural extensions of what I was doing before because I was still working in Unreal.
Cool. Do you think there was anything maybe surprisingly challenging from taking on that variety of roles that you've engaged with?
Was keeping track of things, honestly. There was a lot of stuff which meant and jumping between different things quite fast meant I lost track of things quite a few times.
Okay, good. Let's move over to Isaac. Now, Isaac, I left you last for a reason. Not only did you apply for a production role, but you also had maybe a bit of an unexpected request made to you by myself, and that was to behave and coordinate things as team lead, working as a producer. Give me your take on that request, that conversation we had, and taking up that role.
So yeah, I was obviously I applied to do 3D modeling and around like doing my skills test. That was enjoyable to do. I just made an asset pack, which wasn't the greatest 3D modeling I've done, but I ended up doing it and got through it. But about the team lead, it was unexpected for sure. But I was happy to take on the role because it was challenging to like take on that role. I didn't see myself as well. I didn't expect myself to be in a leading role, but I was happy to take on the challenge, and I feel like I've learnt a lot of skills because of it, and I was able to well, become a bit more sociable even, just being able to talk to people more and just kind of expand my skill set as a as a team lead.
Cool. Just following on from that, can you maybe pinpoint maybe what one of the biggest misconceptions you had about being a team lead was, or maybe what one of the biggest challenges that you experienced as a team lead was?
Yeah, so a lot of what I thought being team lead would just be to kind of sit back and just say, here, you do this, go, and I'll check in every now and again. But I actually got a lot more hands-on and was like obviously giving advice, helping out teammates, and even doing some 3D modeling work later on, and even earlier on, just like to, for one, fill my time once I'd finished doing more managerial roles, like making schedules and thinking up of like asset lists and helping with mechanics and such and that. But also just being able to like moving on to like helping out, figure out stuff. But it was a bit of an unexpected thing, like like how much closer I worked in with the game, because I thought I would be much more of a like passive background role, if that makes sense.
Absolutely does. That in mind, I think is quite a common misconception made by a lot of first-time project leads, whereby they think, I'm going to be as I'm going to try to be not as involved from a micromanaging point of view as they likely end up being because they need to be. I think it's safe to say that you've learned a lot about what it is to be a team lead and what it actually means to be a team lead from a communication point of view, given your time spent on this project and how you've worked with your team. Nice stuff. Moving forward, try to keep things rolling smoothly with time. Synoptic Project kicked off when we got the brief, and with the brief came the theme. You guys were all provided that theme and that brief to read through, and in turn provide a solo pitch response where you would showcase and pitch an original idea based on your take or your interpretation of said theme. Moving on swiftly from the solo pitches was when you guys were first sort of pulled together and placed into your team scenario. For a couple of you, this was maybe the first time you'd actually had the opportunity to interact with one another, and was likely a bit of a jarring, confusing, maybe nerve-wracking experience. But can you guys sort of give me a little bit of input regarding how you felt about working in this team and forming that shared vision for the group pitch? By the end of the group pitch, did you guys feel like you had come together very well? Do you feel like the idea you'd formed was very, very solid? Do you feel like there was any flaws? This is open to anyone to jump into, so feel free.
I might say something here, if that's okay, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously at the start, it was obviously meeting new people. You kind of you like that first week or so, you're always trying to figure out these people, like what they talk like, how well, like in a way, you're just trying to figure out how they are with people and how they act and stuff like that. And I'm like thankful to say that all of my teammates were great to work with, and I enjoyed every moment that I was able to play, like enjoy making this game with. And I was surprised quite quickly of how well we actually all worked together. I felt like a lot of the time we were able to synergize quite well, thinking of ideas, bouncing ideas off of each other. Then even when we disagreed on ideas, we all kind of see both sides, and then we'd end up deciding, is this going to match the brief, or would it stray a little bit too far? And we were always kind of always able to come to a conclusion on whether or not it kind of worked well with the idea we wanted, that we ended up deciding on when we did group pitches. And I feel like, yeah, we just synergized quite well, kind of off the rip very quickly.
Awesome input, great place to start. If anyone has anything to add to that, feel free, or any difference of opinion, feel free to throw it in there.
Yeah, I agree. Early on, the whole being in a group of new people was something I struggled greatly with. I was constantly worried about stepping on people's toes, basically. But as the project progressed, slowly I just started to become a lot more confident in presenting ideas and just doing stuff, and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's safe to say, as time went on, communication improved, relationships improved, work ethic was, there was a shared vision, a shared foundation of what you wanted to achieve. Was anyone else got anything they would like to sort of chip into regarding kind of where you guys were at as a team by the end of the group pitch phase?
I was just going to say I agree with what they've said. As a team, we've came up with great, unique ideas, and at the end of the group pitch, like we're all familiar with each other. We've all contributed to the idea of the game. We've not like really left anybody out. So I think it's pretty great for the end of the group pitch.
Awesome. Christian, Alice, any input from you guys regarding how you felt sort of exiting the group pitch stage?
I don't really have any objections. I guess our team adapted like really well to the consequences after the group pitch.
Cool. Do you think that anything could have been improved, Chris?
I'll definitely my schedule, but other than that, yeah.
So a little bit of personal
Yeah.
ownership here, in terms of what timekeeping, attendance, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that those issues that you had with timekeeping and attendance had a larger impact on the team at all?
In terms of like getting the level up to date, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. If let's assume, going back in time, we were able to rectify those attendance concerns, and gather all that missed time that you've had. What impact could that have on the potential of the project based on where it's currently at versus what it could have been?
Right. 1 second.
That's fine. Take your time. More or less, I'm asking, do you think that the time that you've missed out on could have been put to use? Yes? No?
It's hard to answer.
I think it's a clear answer. If you'd spent
I
more
mean-
time on the project, would the project be better?
Yes,
Sure.
Chris, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, you guys help him out. Where do you guys think, if Chris had attended all of the lessons on time? Obviously, this goes for everyone. Absences and things are a pretty normal thing, but they're typically, discussed in advance and scheduled. Normally, Chris has a lot of absences here, there, and everywhere. A lot of latenesses. Isaac, this happened for you as well at times.
Yeah.
It's not just one person who's sort of at fault here. But all of those man hours that we're missing as a team, where do we think that that could have impacted the project most?
I think it's that going into the end of the beta phase, the place we were lacking at the most was probably the level design. It was still very bare bones at that point. So if Chris had been in more often and earlier and stuff, they would have been able to finish that and have the level design a lot further to completion by the end of the beta phase, and we could have distributed our time differently to have some of our wants brought into the golden standard.
Yeah. Does anyone feel like they had to pick up any slack because of any absences?
Yeah, definitely. That was the main reason I started taking on level design work.
Okay. Isaac, I feel like you were going to say something before Eleanor, maybe?
Yeah, I was gonna say, obviously, if everyone was in, even I'm guilty of not coming in some days, whether it was illness or like personal problems or something. Like, obviously, if everyone was in every day, every hour, the game would have been in a more improved or fleshed out state.
Mhm.
But I feel like even though we have missed a few days, um, or in some cases weeks, Chris, we ended up getting a lot of the work done that we wanted to do, that we needed to do. And near the end, we found ourselves having not as much time as we would have wanted to add some of the like extra amenities that we wanted to put in, but we were able to add some extra like Easter eggs and stuff, just a little like some little fun things in our game for players to find
Yeah,
and
I
stuff
think
like that.
I think it is worthwhile pointing out that the end state of the project, whilst it might not necessarily be in the most fleshed out state or maybe what you envisioned it to be, there's definitely, as with most projects, likely been cuts throughout production. I think you guys have still churned out something really, really unique and fun and different to what most teams have provided, and you've done it to a really solid, consistent standard. It's just a shame that obviously absences did kick in and did have an impact on the project to some degree. But yeah, absolutely on board with everything that's been said there. We'll move forward. We'll kind of jam pack some of these bits and pieces together, but I'm going to kind of tie two major talking points together. One being communication, which we've sort of latched onto a little bit, and we'll tie that in with the pre-production stage. So pre-production was the opportunity for you guys to, again, as a team, flesh out this idea that you've concepted and plan your approach to production. Do you guys think that you planned everything very well? And do you think you guys utilized those documents and resources that you produced much, much early in the planning stage?
I think as far as like plan documents goes, like schedules, asset lists, we used them like to an extent of completing them. Uh, if you understand what I mean, like asset lists. Obviously, as we were making the game, we weren't 100% sure of every asset that we wanted in the game. So we found ourselves like going back, adding more assets or creating new asset lists to kind of fill in the gaps of where those like well like just to add more assets in.
Mm-hmm.
So where we did use like some of the like documentation we made early on, uh, we'd always go like sometimes in some cases we'd go back, update them, but I did find that a lot of the time, at least in my case, I'd only ever really go back to them if I was completely stuck or like I needed a refresh of what we were making.
Good. Then
Um,
that's kind of the purpose of them. Like they're only there as
yeah.
they're there for reassurance. Like if you're a dead set on knowing what you're doing, great. If you're a little bit confused and puzzled, those documents are there to reassert and reconfirm that level of understanding, right? So if those documents fulfilled that purpose, perfect.
Yeah, I think the only pre-production document I ended up using a lot was the dialogue drafting I did as part of the GDD. That I referred to constantly while making the dialogue system, but outside of that, I didn't really touch most of the pre-production documentation.
Fine. Alice, what about your input here? Did you sort of rely on the Art Bible at all to help create those UI elements? Any of the other art-based assets?
Yeah, a bit. It was more of kind of a like something for me to put the stuff I'd done into, but it did help to keep me consistent.
Absolutely good. Yeah, the Art Bible again is something that evolves over time. So adding things as you go in, as you're making them, is completely fine. Is to be expected. But as long as you're sort of noticing that consistency because of the references and the research conducted and the experimentation conducted within the Art Bible, perfect. Again, just for the sake of time, I'm going to move on swiftly. But again, feel free to interrupt if you've got anything you want to chime in
Well,
with.
I was just gonna say something with the documents as well. I feel like near to the end of alpha, the Trello board when we started using that was a really big help because most of the documents I couldn't find them, like they were just in my file somewhere or in the chat. But when we implemented this Trello board, everything was there. So for organization purposes, the Trello board was huge and also just easily going back on documents.
Yeah, would you say it sort of streamlined everything for you, like throughout the entire project once it was implemented?
Yeah, it was such a help. Like,
And whose idea
and
was it to implement the Trello board?
well, It was this teacher called Josh, but I created it for our group and made it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I obviously showed you a version of Trello, but you've repurposed it and restructured it to the benefit of your own team, which is again great because my system isn't necessarily the perfect system. It's about what works for you guys as individuals and as a team as well. So as long as you found that middle ground and made it work, perfect. Well, does everyone else did everyone else see value in the Trello board? Did anyone reference the Trello board in terms of timekeeping, task management?
100%. Found myself going back to the Trello board a lot, whether it was like checking up on old meeting logs or just looking, since I did do some 3D work, going back there to look at asset lists or something or other. It did help just to manage everything, especially as a
Perfect.
team lead.
Awesome. Right then. Shifting forward, pre-production was that planning stage, as we've said. Next up was production, and production we split into three predominant stages. Alpha being the point in time where you were requested to make some form of playable demo, where we weren't fixating on visuals, but we were heavily relying on placeholders and prototype systems to indicate, gameplay loops, gameplay features, mechanics. And outline the general user experience to prove project feasibility. Beta was the continuation of this, which allowed you to then prioritize visuals and give the game that much needed fresh layer of skin and level of decoration to make the game feel a bit more complete and akin to what the actual idea visually and aesthetically was supposed to be. These two stages were topped off by the gold standard, which was a stage for polish. Now, that polish meant not so much adding anything new, but refining everything that existed. I would like a little bit of input from everyone in the form of where you feel throughout production you were most productive, whether you feel you contributed enough through production, and maybe what the biggest challenge you experienced throughout any point of production was. Who would like to start?
I guess I'll start. So, with production, it's just the challenges. Sorry, is what you said.
Where do you feel you were most productive? Maybe what's the biggest challenge you experienced? And do you feel like you were actively contributing throughout production?
So I feel like during production, the alpha stage for me, it was just blockouts, and to be fair, some of the blockouts weren't really the best. They they were doing the job, as you could tell what it was,
That's all you need
and
blockouts to do.
that's kind of their purpose. But I was trying to push myself further because I did in alpha and the starter beta, I did make models that were fully textured and fully unwrapped. But
Was that
yeah,
maybe an oversight?
yeah, I probably should have just stuck to blockouts so that the game was more full. But in the end, it worked out. So like from the end of beta to start of gold, most of the models were in the game. However, they weren't textured. So during that time, I just opened Blender, made a file, and I was just going through that asset list again from the start, making all the models again instead of blockouts, making them properly. And then in the gold phase, I was texturing them with the help of Isaac, just making sure they visually look good so that when it's the end of gold standard, you could tell it's a vertical slice and the game looks polished.
Awesome. Chris, give me your insight. What was your, where did you feel most productive on the project, and what was your biggest challenge?
It's productive. Okay, for me, I'd have to say, let's see. Yeah, honestly, it might be gold standard.
Can you elaborate as to why? Why do you feel like gold standard was where you were most productive or effective?
Uh, gold standard was kind of like how the beta was honestly supposed to look like because of I kept being late. Like I just added in a bunch of stuff.
So you feel like you
I
got a lot of the tasks that you should have completed in beta, completed at a later stage, but that's where obviously a lot of the work should have happened, but did happen later.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
cool.
also like added like dynamic footsteps. I pirated the camera to the head so I'd have some like movement while walking. And yeah, I did some stuff, I guess.
Cool. What was your biggest challenge then?
Um, it was the lighting. I don't know, just I try to make the lighting look somewhat natural over chandeliers and stuff, but like it always seemed weird.
Were you able to find a solution or a workaround, even if not perfect? Did you find something that worked in the end?
Uh, yeah, I guess it looks natural enough.
Okay. So you just sort of bit the bullet and understood it wasn't going to be perfect, but it worked as intended.
Yeah.
Okay. Alice, tell me about your understanding. Where were you most productive or effective, and what was the biggest challenge you faced?
I was definitely most productive in the alpha stage,
Mhm.
where most of my content work was done. Uh,
So building off from that, where do you feel like you had the most challenge? Where did you feel you struggled most on the project?
Definitely with character art.
In what sense? Like, can you elaborate? Like, what part of it? What aspect of it?
I struggle with drawing people properly.
So just anatomy, human anatomy.
Yeah,
And the result of that was artwork taking more time or needing more communication with your team to.
yeah, communication.
Okay, awesome. Uh, Eleanor.
Uh, I was most productive at the very start and the very end of the project. Because at the start of it, I was all motivated for the great Synoptic project. We're going to do this, it's going to be awesome. And at the end of the project, I had to lock in and make sure it all got done. And I was getting sent models and 2D art by Connor constantly, so I had to keep up with the supply of models doing the work to implement them. Uh, I would say that my biggest challenge was definitely the uh, evidence presenting system, because that was uh, adapting someone else's code for my own purposes, and it was very challenging to get it to work and function. I, it was really tough. It was annoying to do, but it worked out in the end. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think Connor, have we had input from you?
Yeah, I went
Yeah,
at the
I thought
start.
so. I thought so. I wasn't too sure. Isaac, that leaves us with just you then.
Yeah. So throughout the project, there's like team lead, the actual like team lead like jobs. I guess you could say. I didn't find too difficult because it was it was mainly just figuring out scheduling, like making the schedules, putting them together, helping out with like asset lists. Um, so to fill my time and give myself more tasks to do, I would help out a lot with the texturing, as Connor said, and also doing some models. Um, so in that, I usually would use 3ds Max when I was making models, but I ended up learning Blender as I found it was a lot better, and there was a lot more tools and just a lot more ways to create objects in Blender compared to 3ds. Um, but definitely find like trying to figure out the unwrapping in Blender was a lot harder, but eventually near the end in gold, uh, thanks well, unluckily when I'd already unwrapped most of my work, I was starting to finally get the hang of it. So I feel like I lost a lot of time um, in that case. Um, just trying to figure out a new software definitely was probably one of the biggest troubles I had.
But a
Um,
worthwhile investment, would you say?
I would, yeah, 100%, because
Okay.
I feel like I was able to just churn out more models quicker, faster, and and like I was very thankful to have Connor, who had already been learning Blender and was already really good at it. I would say, compared to me anyway. So he was always able to help me out if I had any like
Good.
problems or struggles.
It made that level of work more consistent as well, I imagine. Like the style of the models being
Yeah,
created. Yeah, because you were working so closely.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, yeah.
Right, again, we're going to go over a little bit. I apologise, but I'll try and streamline it so we're not too not too delayed. We are nearing the end as well. In terms of how the final product came out, can we identify whether or not we think we achieved what we set out to achieve? Are we happy with the quality, or is the idea drastically different?
From what we've done, to be honest, the idea is very similar to our original. You know, it's got the mirror world, it's got the detective.
Yep.
You can talk to people. Some ideas were changed, but like really early on, like the maid in the basement was decided in alpha. I mean, it helps the story, and given the evidence, which makes the game more like you can play it a little bit longer, I guess. We did have to cut a few though, like upstairs. There was going to be an upstairs, but due to people being late, sorry,
And time constraints.
yeah, and constraints, we just cut the upstairs completely and just moved anything that was upstairs, just moved downstairs. We did what's the word for it? We did add a room, an extra room, so we could I forgot the word. Instead of the upstairs, we added a room where we put stuff that
You
was upstairs.
substituted stuff.
Yeah, substituted. We added a room with an extra room downstairs, and to be honest, though, the game is
So
basically what we pitched at the start.
cool. So rather than a whole floor, you substituted that with a basement room, which gave you the same effect without the need for the sheer volume of what upstairs meant.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Any other input, Eleanor?
Yeah, honestly, I think that ended up working out better for us in the end because it meant that our game was a smaller footprint and we could make it more jam-packed with content and stuff. So it ends up, I think that worked out, that constraint ends up giving us a better end-out product.
Awesome. I completely agree. And I do think from an external point of view, I think out of most teams, I think your idea from start to finish stayed the most consistent, which was really pleasing because it just meant that from the get-go, you guys had made a really, really thorough idea. Moving forward then, I'm going to ask you guys one final question. And then once that's done, we can wrap things up. That is, what are you most proud of that you've contributed to the game?
No, I suppose I'll go. As like for what I'm proud of, I'm just happy I was able to complete and texture as many models as I did. Um, just being able to really like help out my team because I feel like if I didn't do that and I didn't like take up a little extra slack, I feel like we would have been so much further behind than we would have been. Like in beta, we were behind quite a bit, and we all like knew this, and we all said in gold we need to just put our heads down and really, really just focus and get this done. And the difference in our beta to gold was incredible. So honestly, as what I'm proud of is just the entire team and how much we'd improved in that entire time. Just improving so much and so quickly that we were able to, well, basically come from what was basically an alpha stage project, like a little playable prototype in beta, to almost a fully fledged out game in gold, and it was just incredible to see.
I agree. I think that's very, very massive and definitely something to be proud of. Who's next?
Yeah, as a team, I 100% agree with Isaac here. I think the work we put into during the gold standard for the visuals was incredible. I think we did an impeccable job there, and I'm very proud of that. And but from a personal perspective, the stuff that I'm most proud of would be the evidence presenting system because I was so proud and satisfied once I had finished that. It was really difficult and pushed my problem solving skills, and it felt great to finish.
Nice. I can safely say it's hard to disagree with completing a specifically like difficult task is it's like scratching a very satisfying itch. So yeah, definitely some worthwhile input there. Who's next?
Um,
Connor.
I was just saying, I'm personally proud that, because like I said, he's been learning Blender. I only started learning Blender about December time, to be honest, and I was very confused with it. But I'm glad I've learned it because I can use it for free at home, even when I leave college. It's just a free software that I can do my models with.
Mhm.
And I'm also proud of the models I've actually created because they're unique. They look realistic for the game we've gone for, like how to stylize realistic. They look like they belong in the game, and it looks like it would be there. And yeah, I'm just glad the game visually and with my models in it as well looks great. And yeah, as everyone said, the team as well, it's been amazing.
Epic. Although I'm still going to stand by 3ds Max. It's definitely worthwhile having another tool in your tool belt that you can pull out at any point, and you've got a diverse set of options that you can tackle different problems with, different projects with as well. Alice.
I'd say personally, I'm most proud of my floor plan art because I think up until the substitute room for upstairs, the layout of the map was unchanged.
Good. So you can sort of say like your eye for detail was there from the get go. It didn't really need much refining because the quality was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your ability to sort of convey that information, that detail, off bat is great. Cool. Chris, tell me about yourself. What's the thing that you're most proud of?
Um,
Plenty of time to think. Come on.
I,
What are you most happy with that you put into the game?
those boxes in the basement, you know, the ones that like have physics, I guess,
Okay. Why?
fun to play around with.
Fun to play around with. Was it a complex system to make, and you feel like your skill set has developed as a result of making those?
Nah. It was relatively simple.
But sometimes the simple things are the most rewarding, right? The small
Yeah.
things give the most details. Sometimes less is more. That sort of thing. Cool. One last question before I do wrap it off. And again, it's not everyone needs to contribute, but if you could, looking back in hindsight, retrospectively, if you could change anything about the project, what would you change?
Chris's attendance records.
I'm still trying to do that to this day, though. It's impossible. The never-ending task. On a serious note, though, well, I mean, maybe that is a serious suggestion. Attendance is really, really important. From a project perspective, what would we change, if anything?
I would just say during the beta phase we all got a little shift on because kind of chillaxed during then, and that's why we had to, heads down, gold standard. But I mean, it worked out in the end.
So preventing burnout by spreading out the seriousness of tasks, or the priority of tasks, and understanding the importance of completing things stage by stage is maybe something that
Yeah.
developing that understanding is maybe a bit more called for.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, I will finish this by saying, as your client, I'm really, really happy with what you guys have managed to produce. You guys might see a lot of flaws in your work, but from a client and tutor perspective, I'm more than happy with what you guys have produced, both from a quality perspective, but also the idea, the concept in and of itself, and the fact that you guys were able to stay so true to what you at first initially pitched in comparison to most other teams. Whilst you might have dropped a few things, you found a lot of worthwhile substitutions that you could make to still bring your initial idea to life, maybe in a different with a different vision to a degree, but it was still the same idea at heart. And I think despite the challenges that you faced as a team, you've come out quite positive, and you've performed to the best of your ability for the most part throughout the entire project. So I think you guys should be really proud of yourselves. I think you guys should give yourselves a pat on the back, and think that this is a project that you guys should be really, really happy that you've created. So well done.
Thank you.